Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and £1,000 up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.
Hello and welcome to this week's Racing Post football postcast. I'm Dave Clark, joined by colleagues and betting boffins on the football pitch, Dan Charles and Mark Landon. We've also got Emmett O'Keefe on the line from our friends at Paddy Power. Now, friendlies, Nations League, all that to come. First up though, we're going to take a breather and assess the domestic scene. Mark Langdon joins us, and we'll kick off with you, Mark, as well. Man City, short price. It's still quite tight at the top though.
It is. I mean, I think you can look at it two ways. I mean, Man City are clearly the best team, but I think the start that they've had, they would have been expecting to have been further clear actually than what they are. I mean, and I think that's testament to the work that Liverpool and Chelsea have done to keep tabs on on City. But I mean, you saw the way they toyed with Manchester United really just before the international break. Going to be very difficult. What I would say is that Chelsea have probably had the easier run of the three, which is why they're the kind of prices that they are. They haven't been away to any of the big teams, whereas you look at City, they've already been to Anfield, they've been to Tottenham, they've been to Arsenal, and for Liverpool as well, they've been to Chelsea, Tottenham and Arsenal. So I think it's going to be very difficult to see anybody outside of Manchester City winning, as the prices suggest, and I wouldn't be surprised if they finished in betting order really in that front three with Man City winning from Liverpool and Chelsea in third. I just think with Chelsea, they need maybe to get a new goal scorer in January, because Giroud does good work for the team. Morata, so in and out. He can look good, but he wasn't great against Everton, and that just puts so much emphasis on Eden Hazard, whereas Liverpool can share them around, and City have just got obscene amount really of goal scoring options. So I think City will win pretty comfortably.
Emmett, a layer's view, how are you sitting at the moment with your book? Are you full up with Man City? Would you be happy to take them on, so to speak, or how does it stand?
I don't think you can take them on. Like it's considering they obviously lost Kevin De Bruyne, who was second in the PFA Player of the Year voting, and they've been better than last season. Obviously, Mendy's come in for Fabian Delph, which has been an improvement, but like they're conceding maybe a third of a goal less than last year. They're scoring slightly more, and as Mark said, they've already got some of their tougher away games out of the way. I think it's very hard to take them on really.
2-7 with Paddy Power, Man City. Dan, any angle up there? What are your views?
I think it's a little bit too skewed. I think 20-1 Chelsea is a little bit too big, actually. I think if we remember Maurizio Sarri at the start of the season, he came in late in the summer, didn't he? And he did say it would take a while for the formation change and the change in the style of play to bed down. I mean, the fact that they're only 4 points off at this stage, and he did say that they will get better as the season goes on. Also factor in that they haven't got any Champions League football to worry about. Liverpool and Manchester City probably going to have that on their minds going into the new year, so that could be a slight advantage. I mean, if Chelsea were to win that December fixture at home to Manchester City, all of a sudden, that price would start to look a little bit big, wouldn't it? I know the price would change anyway, but I just think 12 games in, 4 points off. The fact that they could improve as the season goes on, it's just a little bit too big for me.
Okay, right. Let's switch to the other end of the Premier League table. And Emmett, do you want to give us a relegation show? I think you've got 3 sides already odds on for the drop.
Absolutely, yeah. We've Huddersfield 4-11, Cardiff 4-11, Fulham 4-6, Burnley 7-5, Newcastle 3-1, Southampton 4-1, Palace 6-1, Brighton 10s and 20s bar.
And what about yourself, Emmett? You got any view on anything at a bigger price? Any team at a bigger price there to maybe get dragged down?
Maybe Brighton. I just think they're kind of a small margins team. They kind of rely on maybe scoring the odd goal and defending deep and holding on. I'm not sure they should be like. I think there's a clear tiers this year. I don't think they're that much better than the likes of Palace or Southampton really. So I think they should be a bit shorter than 10s.
Mark, we've got Huddersfield, Cardiff and Fulham already all odds on. Is it simple as that? Job done?
No, it's rarely that simple. It rarely works out like that. And Fulham have changed their manager. I mean, Huddersfield. I think Huddersfield are playing all right, but they just haven't got any goals in them, which is a big problem. And Cardiff have won kind of a couple of the home games that they would have been targeting in the last couple of weeks. So all of a sudden, from everybody saying they're hopeless, they've kind of got themselves back into a position. I agree about Brighton. I just wonder, like, away from home, like they don't pick up hardly any points, so they are very reliant on what they do at home. They seem to get a lot of, as Emmett was saying, like a lot of one-goal victories at home. That can change. It don't take a lot for that to change. But I suppose of the ones that are not odds on, I think Burnley are playing, not playing very well. They're conceding a lot of goals. Last week they got that point at Leicester. I mentioned it on the Postcast. It was probably a good time, to play Leicester, given that the players have been to Thailand. And if you take that result sort of out of it, they've really been getting hammered on the shot stats recently. So maybe them.
Dan, we've got 3 sides odds on. If you could bet one odds against to stay up, would it be Fulham?
No, South odds against
to stay up.
Oh, to stay up.
If you could flip it and one of them to stay up.
I do think Huddersfield and Cardiff are probably a little bit too short, both of them. But having said that, if I was nailed on to say, who's your bottom 3, I would still say Huddersfield and Cardiff will be in there. Fulham are the ones I think most likely to get out of it, because they're not getting the most out of the players they've got there. They did come up with a team probably playing better football at the time than Wolves were. They collected more points in the second half of last season, and they've got a lot of new players in, and it's not gone quite right there. But there's a situation there where the change of manager might just make a bit of a difference. Ranieri coming in with his experience, a little bit of a brighter outlook, because a general upbeat way that he has about him. And Jukanovic at the moment, you can look at him in interviews, and doesn't come across the most inspiring. You can imagine that in the dressing room, and when the team's in a slump, maybe I'm doing him a disservice, but I just think I can see why they've made a change there, and there's scope perhaps to improve there. The team outside of those odds-on shots, I think it's got a very good chance of being involved in a relegation battle with Southampton at 4-1. I just think they seem to get a free ride with the markets. They're only goal difference outside the bottom 3. 5 of their next 9 games are against teams, Big 6 teams. So, where are they going to be, around about the turn of the year? In my eyes, they're still going to be in trouble. Their general form for a long time, they've had 1 home win in the last 17 Premier League home games. Only Huddersfield have scored less goals. They've also missed a lot of wasted opportunities in home games this season. Burnley, they drew at home. Brighton, they drew at home. Newcastle, they drew at home. Then maybe they deserve better results in them games, but they're a bit like Huddersfield. They've not got a striker there that's going to score you 20 goals. Maybe Austin's the only one, but he's so injury prone.
The only one's going to get you 10 goals.
Well, yeah, exactly. Austin's the one. He's a natural scorer, but he's always injured, isn't he? So for me, 4-1 for Southampton is just too big, and they'll be the side I'd back.
On current form and fixtures lying ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
5 of the top 6.
Current form and long-term form as well. Like I say, they've had 4 wins this year. Southampton. This isn't a sudden thing that they've been poor. They've been poor for a while.
I think they'll get rid of Hughes pretty soon, and probably make an upgrade. It's not difficult to make an upgrade in the managerial department there, and if they get that right, because I just think some of the other teams you got down there, like Huddersfield, they're not getting rid of Wagner no matter what he does. Burnley are not getting rid of Dyche.
Yeah.
And so that, I'm just...
They'll need to do something in January as well, though, because at the top end, like I say, you do need someone to take advantage of that approach play. That's where they lack as well.
Well, we've had our first casualty in the managers this season. Emmett, have you got betting up for the next one to get the boot?
We actually don't. We were just putting it together this morning. But when it's up, you can be sure Mark Hughes will be odds on.
All right, okay, so pretty much agreeing with yourself, Mark.
Yeah, he's bang under pressure. they've made the mistake that like teams like Sunderland have done in the past, where they've brought somebody in to keep them up, and because he's kept them up, they've made the wrong decision in giving him a longer-term contract, and then find themselves in exactly the same position. I don't think they stayed up because of Mark Hughes last season. They just stayed up as a consequence of them being slightly better than some of the other teams down there, and it was a bad appointment.
Okay, fair enough. Right, let's move on then. Let's move to the continent, shall we? The the huge leagues over there. Let's start with La Liga then, Mark. Barca are top and Real Madrid languishing in sixth.
Well, it's a really tight league. I think Real Madrid are only 4 points off the top, even though they are 6 point. Like you say, they're in sixth spot. Barca were beaten by Betis at the weekend. It's a really interesting title race. I do wonder whether Barca are more interested in the Champions League this year. Atletico have been absolutely terrible and yet find themselves in second spot, just off the front pace. I mean, Sevilla, Dave, are playing really well at the moment. They've got a lot of style in their team, a lot of goals, and they absolutely hammered Real Madrid earlier on in the campaign. But it's very tight. I'd just be Barca will probably win it, but I'd be leaning towards a lay of them, I think, at the prices, just because, like I say, I think the Champions League is their main aim for this campaign. I'm not sure that they're that much better than the rest.
Quick word on Betis. You mentioned beat Barca. I've seen them a couple of times, and they're quite a lively side, aren't they, this season?
They play the best football in Spain, I think. They just don't win often enough. They're a team that everybody likes. You look at their possession stats; they're right up there with Barcelona. I mean, they've gone to the Nou Camp and put 4 goals on them and really dazzled. But it was probably the first time this season they've been able to play on the counter-attack, and that's helped them. Teams are giving them a lot of respect, and they're like when they're playing like Valladolid at home, creating chances, just not scoring enough of the goals. So I mean, they're an interesting team to watch, but they're not going to be among the front runners. They could do well in the Europa League. Might be a team to watch out for in that.
Okay, well, Mark's quite keen to be against Barcelona in the Liga. Emmett, have you got a show there for us?
Yeah, we've got Barcelona 2-5, Real Madrid 4-1, and Atletico Madrid 13-2.
All right, any views on that, Dan? 2-5 seems
I think
skinny.
Barca will probably win the league just for the simple fact that they got much more going forward. I mean, you look at just a simplistic look at the table. Their goal tally 34 is 10 more than the next best team. I mean, that is a huge advantage when you're outscoring the other sides that much. And Messi hasn't even been, he's missed a few weeks for injury as well, hasn't he? But I would say they're still a bit too short. And the team I can't have Real Madrid. I mean, you look at 4 defeats already. Their goal difference is only +4 at the moment. So there's a lot wrong, I think, going on there. And Atletico Madrid are the side I think that is the most likely to take advantage if Barcelona can't sort their defence out. But Barca are not defending well. Atletico Madrid again got the best defence in Spain as is usual. And I think they had a bit of a slow start as well, didn't they? And they've still got quite near to the top after 12 games. So Atletico are probably a bit overpriced.
Okay, let's move on. Mark, from a punting perspective, Italy and France, a bit boring, all sewn up.
Well, in terms of sort of anti-post in the league, yeah, I mean, Juve have made the best start ever in Serie A. So, I mean, Inter and Napoli have actually done pretty well, but it's just, been relentless from Juve, and PSG have broken the European record for wins at the start of the season. Neymar, Mbappe and Cavani just destroying teams in France on a regular basis. And no, I mean, there's interest in terms of who's going to finish second and third in them leagues, but no, it feels like they're already done. I suppose in Italy, Juve have already played Napoli at home, so if you wanted to try and look at it from a bright point of view, you think, well, maybe if Napoli can win that reverse game, it's back on, but I don't think it is. I mean, they were the best team last year, and then they bought Bonucci and Cristiano Ronaldo to improve them in both boxes. And
perhaps a more interesting league, competitive anyway, Bundesliga.
Well, yeah, I mean, Emmett, have you got prices there on the Bundesliga? It must be very tight between Dortmund and Bayern now.
Yeah, sorry, I'm having a few technical issues at the moment, but I think it's basically 10 to 11 both sides, I'm fairly sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting one to know because I still feel like Bayern can get those 7 points back if they sort themselves out, but it's whether they can sort themselves out, and then that could be the decisive factor there because it's an ageing team, Hummels and Boateng at the back, Robben and Ribéry out wide. Kovac has fallen out with James Rodriguez. Thomas Muller's wife's been on Instagram having a pop at the manager. It doesn't feel right at Bayern. So ordinarily, I would fancy them to still pull back the 7 points because there's more than enough time left, and they've got to go to the Allianz as well, Dortmund. But they're not playing like Bayern Munich, so that gives Dortmund a real good chance.
Is that why Dortmund are top? Because Bayern are just not there, or have Dortmund been brilliant?
Yeah, I mean, Dortmund have have made the most. They scored a few late goals and stuff like that, and they're winning matches 3-2. And I'm not entirely convinced that Dortmund are the real deal. They're a great team to watch. They're definitely vulnerable at the back, but 7 points. I mean, I tipped Dortmund at the start at like about 8-1, so I'm hopeful that the Dortmund can get it done. I still feel like I'd rather just about be in Bayern's
even at this stage, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because Bayern can win 10 matches. I mean, we've seen it before. They can win 10 matches on the spin in the Bundesliga pretty easily, but they've got to get their act together. It could be a case of sacking Kovac, bringing in a manager like they've done in previous times, who then sorts them all out, and then they're man for man, they're miles better. I mean, they were 11-10 to win at Dortmund at the weekend. So if you look at it from that point of view, if they're 11-10 to beat Dortmund away, what price are they going off every week? And so the 7-point lead, like I say, the winter break coming up, Bayern could sort themselves out and kick on second half of the season.
And just quickly, can you remember what price Bayern were at the start of the season?
Well, I mean, it was sort of, they would have probably been about 5s on, because it was like Dortmund were about 8-1, and then sort of 20-1.
And it's almost 10-11 a pair now.
And now it's 10-11 a pair. So we've got an interesting race, really exciting.
Okay, anything else, lads? Maybe north of the border, anyone got a shout?
Yeah, I had a look at the Scottish, the Premiership. I mean, I remember at the start of the season, I thought Rangers were a little bit overpriced. And you look at it, the league at the moment, 2 points off, same games played. They lost the game at Celtic Park, but they've still got two to play Celtic twice at Ibrox. Gerrard does seem to be doing a good job there, not just in Scotland, but they've done well in Europe as well. Surprised a lot of people with their performances in Europe, and you just look at, even compared to Celtic's performances in Europe, there doesn't seem to be a great deal between the two sides, and the market's Celtic 1-8. Rangers 6-1 with a 2-point gap, and Rangers have got to play Celtic twice at home before the split. So no, I think they look a little bit overpriced to me, Rangers.
What about yourself, Emmett? You got much of a view north of the border?
No, but yeah, like Dan said, I've been very impressed by Rangers in Europe. But like I said, they were very competitive away in Moscow. They've drawn to Villarreal away from home, and like he's just. I had some doubts about Gerrard, and he gave a kind of a dodgy press conference there a couple of weeks ago where he was laying into the players. But overall, I've been very impressed with Rangers, and I could see them running, at least being competitive with Celtic towards the end of the season.
Right, good shout from Dan then for Rangers. Right, we're going to head for a quick break. Now you're all eagerly awaiting the guys' views on the Wayne Rooney circus, and that is to come.
Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and £1,000 up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.
And welcome back to this week's Racing Post football postcast. We're going to now tackle the international scene. Of course, it is the international break, UEFA Nations League, and a whole host of friendlies as well. And the first of those friendlies that we're going to get stuck into is the Wayne Rooney circus, also known as England versus USA, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, obviously last 15-20 minutes are going to be like a testimonial flavour. A bit harsh, I suppose, on Fabian Delph. He's captaining the team. What an honour that must be. And in press conferences, only people want to talk about Wayne Rooney, and like Callum Wilson probably make his debut and stuff like that. I mean, I've said it on last week's show. I don't think that there's a need to play him in this game. He can come out at half time, do the keepy uppies, wave to the crowd. I mean, why is he more important than Gerrard, Lampard, Ashley Cole? I mean, he scored the goals, but he was the centre forward. I mean, to me, Southgate's moved away from this, it all being about certain individuals to a much more holistic approach, much more team-based sort of feeling. Of course, the players are going to say that they want it to happen. I mean, what else can they say? In terms of the game, I was looking at
an angle. Forget the circus. Is there a bet for us?
I mean, I was looking at England to win and under 3.5 goals at around about evens. England's last 7 wins in friendlies have all featured under 3.5 goals. The caveat to that is that USA have scored in 7 of their last 8, but looking at it, I don't see a great deal of quality outside of Pulisic really in their side. So I think it's going to turn, like you're saying, to a bit of a circus last 20 minutes. So we might not even get to that stage where we've got a full-blooded 90-minute contest. So yeah, England to win under 3.5 goals, I won't be watching.
Just quickly, Mark, where do you kind of put the USA at the moment on a level in terms of ability?
Well, pretty low down. If you think that they couldn't come out of a qualifying group that included Panama, and look what happened to them against England. So, I mean, you've got like a form line there, if you want, which you don't always get with CONCACAF teams. I think ability-wise, they should have got to the World Cup, but there's problems behind the scenes, and they still haven't sorted their coach out, and you know, that's the big issue for them. I mean, some of their results, like the 1-1 with France, and that they seem to be improving slightly. I mean, I wouldn't say they're as bad as what that World Cup qualifying form suggested they were. I mean, they're better than Panama, for instance, but by how much, I'm not sure.
Okay, Emmett, have you got a show for us quickly before we get Dan's view?
Yeah, we're 2-5 England, 7-2 the draw, and 15-2 USA.
What do we think, Dan?
I think England are too short. I think USA in friendlies. They've had 10 friendlies since not qualifying for the World Cup. Only lost 3 of them. Drew 1-1 away to Portugal, 1-1 away to France. They've beaten Mexico 1-0 at home. So there's some. They're building quite a young side there at the moment. They've brought a lot of new players in this year. And it's they're looking to the future, but the results and the performances don't seem to have been that bad. So I just think, I mean, Pulisic is in this time. He hasn't played a lot this year, so I mean, he's their star man. So that's a boost for them. And the other side of it is England's side. It's going to be like a reserve team, really, isn't it? Starting the game, because he's going to keep the best players back for the Croatia match. And you look at how the second string performed, you know, at the World Cup against Belgium. And it was very disjointed, wasn't it? So I wouldn't have a lot of faith in England's second string, really, at short odds. And I think England will be stronger when they make the subs. There'll probably be, as well as Rooney, there'll probably be a raft of subs in the second half where he gives a few of the first teamers, you know, 20, 30 minutes. And that, ironically, normally in friendly games, the subs can kind of ruin the game. In this case, they might change it from a reserve team to a few more first team players. It might raise the tempo a little bit. So I think there could be more goals second half than the first, and that's the angle I've looked at. Even money that the second half is the highest scoring half. I think it might liven up a little bit in the last half an hour, and that's where you might make your money. When
Rooney comes on. Have you got any specials, Emmett? I've got to ask, a bit reluctantly, but I will ask. Have you got any specials for Rooney, him to come on and score, etc.?
And we have we have a few. We've got like Rooney to score a penalty, 17-2. Rooney to score from outside the box, 33-1. To score a direct free kick, 40-1. Shown a card, to score and shown a card, 14-1. Assist, 4-1.
The ref can't book him, surely.
Well, he would book him
surely
if he
not.
took his shirt off. I mean, yeah, but I don't know why he would take his shirt off. I mean, he's not one to.
Unless he's got Samba got away with it.
Yeah, he did. Unless he's got like, you know, a t-shirt sort of underneath it, maybe. Let's watch the Ireland versus Northern Ireland.
Let's move on to that. Obviously, that England game kicks off at 8, but kicking off at 7:45 is Ireland versus Northern Ireland. And do you want to give us some prices, please, Emmett?
Yeah, Republic of Ireland are 11-10, 2-1 the draw, and 11-4 Northern Ireland.
And what are your thoughts on this one?
My thoughts are Ireland are probably Republic of Ireland are probably a little short. They've been, some of their performances lately have been really, really poor. And even though Northern Ireland do struggle away from home, I watched Northern Ireland play Bosnia at home in September, and even though they lost, they battered Bosnia. They had 18 corners, 14 shots, and I do feel they're a more united team and more of a team than Ireland. And I think Northern Ireland double chance at 8-11 I think is worth doing.
Could this one get lively? Could it be feisty bookings, etc.?
Potentially, yeah. The two guys to watch are obviously James McLean with recent events, and obviously with the Poppy controversy, and Kyle Lafferty as well. McLean's 6-4 to be carded, and Lafferty's 17-10, and the closest to them in the card betting is, I think, Harry Arter at 7-2 or something like that. So it is. I think if those two guys could be the spark potentially.
Okay, what do we think, Mark?
I was thinking it's going to be very low on goals, and that brings the draw very much into play. I just don't see where the Republic of Ireland, where the goals are coming from. I mean, don't ever really seem to have replaced Robbie Keane. That's been a long. I mean, even when he was coming towards the tail end of his career, they were still sort of relying on him for goals. Northern Ireland, I think have kind of plateaued to a level now where you know, where they should be. I mean, they were overachieving for a little while, but I agree with Emmett. They've been a little bit unlucky in the Nations League. Probably played a bit better than the results suggest. And if they go there, you know, with the determination to not get beat, I don't see enough creativity for Republic of Ireland to win the game. So couldn't put you off no goal scorer, but I think the draw is a sensible play.
What price is no goal scorer and 0-0, Emmett?
0-0's 5-1. No goal scored the same.
Okay, Dan, you got some thoughts as Mark?
No, I'm going to go for Ireland at a shade of odds against. I just think, looking at neither side has got a great deal of quality, but I still look at what Northern Ireland have got up front. I mean, you know, the likes of McGuinness. I mean, and I mean Lafferty. I think he's come back in this time. I don't think he wanted to. I think he pulled himself out, didn't he? The last month's internationals. I just don't see as much. I think there's a bit more in the Ireland attack, and I think it might have done them a favour with Shane Long and players like that and Walters being injured and unavailable. You've got Callum Robinson, who's actually playing quite well at the moment for Preston. He's got 8 goals in 12 games in the Championship. In the context of this game, that's pretty decent form. Scott Hogan's getting off the bench a bit now for Villa, now that Dean Smith's come in there, who he likes. He had him at Brentford, so he's starting to, you know, he is a goal scorer. He has got, at the level of this game, you know, he could be a man that could win a match, and I think they're better at the back. You like Duffy, Keogh, Seamus Coleman now back in, you know, fit again, back in the side. I just think they've got a little bit more, and Northern Ireland are hopeless away from home. No goals in the last 6 away games, so I just think they'll win a tight game, Ireland, for me.
Okay, vote for Ireland there for Dan. Right, let's move on then to the two sides in England's Nations Group. A4, Croatia at home to Spain. Can you give us some prices on that one, please, Emmett?
It's 11-4 Croatia, 23-10 the draw, and even Spain.
And this is the final game for Spain. How do you see it going, Emmett?
I'm not sure about the match prices. Spain are missing a few with Thiago, Koke, Carvajal, and Diego Costa's out as well. Jordi Alba comes back in. He's kind of a tetchy enough relationship with Luis Enrique, but his recent form has been unbelievable. So I think he had to come back in. The bet I'd go with would be Ante Rebic to score any time. I was relatively impressed with him in the Euros, playing wide. But since Mandzukic has retired for Croatia, he's now starting up front, and he scored 4 and 7 for Eintracht Frankfurt. And 11-4, 3-1, I think is reasonable value.
What do we think, Mark?
Price is probably about right. What I like about, I'm going to go for Spain on the basis that the way they came back against England after being sort of shell shocked in that first half, and the reaction to sort of you know, to try to chase the game back, it feels like the Nations League's quite important to them, and the way that they're looking to sort of rebuild after the World Cup. And I'm not sure the same can be said for Croatia, who, you know, having reached the World Cup final, I think they may be just struggling for a little bit of motivation. And Modric, who'd reached like unbelievable levels really for club and country, hasn't played well really at all for Real Madrid this season. Maybe this game will perk them back up again, and it'll be just what they need. But they were outclassed in the reverse fixture. They were missing more players then, but I still think in both boxes, Subasic, the goalkeeper, being injured, well, and he's no longer around, but he's injured as well. And Mandzukic, that's quite a lot for them to replace. And I think that Spain have got the better option. So I'll go for Spain. It's pretty tentative, but I'm not sure if Croatia have got the fire in their bellies, and they're a team that have to play with that passion really to sort of help them along. I mean, so maybe Spain.
Okay, well, if they are indeed taking it seriously, as you say, Mark, they've got it in their own hands, because if Spain do win, they go through to the final. Dan, do you see a Spain win as well?
Yeah, I think Spain will win this one. I just think Croatia, I agree with Mark, I think since the World Cup, they've never really recovered from losing the final, losing those key players in the spine of the team, Subasic and Mandzukic. I look at their performances. The game against England, I know it was behind closed doors, but you looked at that Croatia performance compared to the performance against England at the World Cup, where they've come from behind, deservedly won the game. It's night and day for me. They've not really recovered their spark ever since the World Cup. And Spain, they've got a few players out, but the difference between Spain and Croatia is depth. I think they've got a far bigger pool of quality players to pick from. You can lose a few players, but there's still good players coming in. You've got Isco's coming in as well, come back from injury. He was missed the last month. He's a big player for them. And I just think they are very motivated by this Nations League. The England game, I think that I've learnt a lot from that. They were maybe a little bit too attack-minded in that game, left a few too many gaps. I think they'll be more focused here, and I think they'll win.
Okay, good stuff. Right, let's move on to Friday then, and Group A1. We've got Netherlands playing France, and France just need a draw to get through to the finals. Have you got a price there for us, please, Emmett? 90 minutes?
Yeah, it's 2-1 Netherlands, 12-5 the draw, and 5-4 France.
What do you fancy in this one?
I'd probably go with France, even though I think Holland are an improving side. A couple of the Ajax lads, De Ligt and Frankie de Jong, are both very, very impressive and could be signed for big money next summer. Patrick Kluivert's son Justin moved to Rome in the summer. So I think Holland are on the up, but I think France are still a level above. And if Holland do try to go for it, I think that obviously with Griezmann and Mbappe and the break, France will be very dangerous. I think I'd go with France 5-4. Will
France be full strength for this one, Mark?
It's not full strength, no. Pogba's out, been replaced by Mo Sissoko, the in-form Sissoko, so an upgrade there for them in the midfield area. I think with France, I'm a little bit nervous about backing them to win the game, because even in the World Cup, they only just seem to do enough. I feel like there's just more levels and gears for them to go through if they want to get there. But I'm not sure that it was like Germany in that last game. They fell behind, then they stepped it up the second half. So a little bit nervous about backing them to win when they only need the draw. But I watched the reverse fixture in Paris, and Kylian Mbappe absolutely destroyed Holland's defence. He was just too quick for them. And I think if Holland do have to push forward, and I think that they'll try to win the game, it'd be quite a big deal if they could get to the Nations League finals.
They need to win their last two matches,
They do.
Yeah.
I think there could be gaps to exploit. So I was going to go for Kylian Mbappe to score a goal at any time. I just, he's in sensational form for PSG. And yeah, like I said, I think with those gaps appearing, I think he'll kill them on the break.
Despite him, you fancying him to tear them apart. What are your feelings about the Netherlands? Have they got this wave of youngsters coming through?
Yeah, they're definitely getting better. I mean, you think like De Ligt and Van Dijk is potentially a very strong centre-back pairing. It was just the game I saw them, Blind played left-back and Mbappe plays out on the right there, and that was a mismatch in terms of the pace. But even someone like Nathan Ake's coming through, Memphis is playing well for Lyon. They're definitely on the way back, there's no doubt about that.
Okay, what do we think about this one, Dan?
Yeah, I think they're on the way back, Holland, but I think they're on the way back to being better than the dire performances they've shown the last couple of years. I'm not sure they're on their way back to being World Cup semi-finalists, which they were. Yeah, exactly. And you look, where are the real top-class players in attack? I mean, Depay is the only player with double figures in the entire squad. For me, the odds against France, I know their motivation doesn't seem to be the same since the World Cup, but they're still winning games, and there's such a class gap between the two attacks. We've mentioned Mbappe, Griezmann, you've got Dembele as well. There's the midfield, even without Pogba, you've still got Kante and Matuidi in there. Varane at the back, there's still a strong spine there. I just think they're all over the pitch. They're stronger, and I think odds against it is reasonable.
Okay, good vote for France there. Also on Friday is Wales versus Denmark. And have you got 90 minutes betting for that one as well, please, Emmett?
Sure. Wales are 13-8, the draw 21-10, and Denmark 9-5.
Okay, both sides looking for a win here. Emmett, how do you see this one going?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the prices have kind of shifted a little bit towards Denmark as news about Gareth Bale being a doubt is obviously broken, and that Bale being out would obviously be a huge blow for Wales. I have been impressed by some of Wales' younger players. I watched them against Ireland, and they battered Ireland in Wales. And Ethan Ampadu, the Chelsea youngster, is outstanding. David Brooks has been very good for Bournemouth, and Harry Wilson's obviously been impressing for Derby as well. But to be honest, in any Denmark game, I think Christian Eriksen to score any time is always the bet. He scored 11 and 12 in their last qualifying campaign, scored 2 against Wales, the Nations League at home, and anything over 5-2 any time I think is worth doing. He does everything for them: free kicks, penalties, and takes a lot of shots from outside the box.
He's the main man for the Danes, isn't he?
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, there's no doubt he is. I mean, whether Bale plays or not is obviously massively.
What's the line there, Mark?
Well, I mean, he's been struggling. He's been struggling, and we're speaking before we know whether he's going to play in the game. I mean, he did play in the reverse fixture, and Denmark coped with him pretty well. I'm going to go for Denmark, draw no bet. They've had one defeat in the last 2 years, and that was against Slovakia when they had a YouTuber playing for them, and a butcher baker and candlestick maker, because obviously the star players refused to play.
Yes, right, yeah.
There was a row over money. That's their only defeat in 2 years. Some of their players have not been playing regularly, which is a problem. Someone like Christensen at the back, but you could argue the other way and say, well, so this is an opportunity for him to sort of, to play, and he'll be fresh. And I think Poulsen's playing quite well for Leipzig as well, and I just think that too much of Wales's play is ultra reliant on Gareth Bale. Denmark can sort of, get the draw and then beat Ireland. They'll probably think they can do it that way round. So the draw no bet was the way I was looking. It's a tight game.
For you, does that bet revolve around whether Bale plays, or would you be happy to be with that even if you started for Wales?
No, I'm going for that. I mean, when I sort of started my research, it was thinking that Bale would play, and I think you've got to think I'm always thinking he'll play unless told otherwise. So,
and it's a bonus if he doesn't, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. What I would say is this is a massive game, because whoever wins, in terms of who wins this group, they'll get a second chance at qualifying for the Euros. And of course, for teams like Wales and Denmark, they can't take qualification via the group stage, for absolute certainty. So this is that second chance. So it's a really big game. So I'm expecting the Welsh crowd to be up for it. I just think Denmark can avoid defeat.
What do you fancy, Dan?
I'm going to go Wales here. I think they'll cause him quite a few problems, even if he doesn't play. I think with the likes of Brooks and Harry Wilson coming through. Ramsey, I think, was missing previously. He's available now. You got Lawrence. He's got a bit of a goal threat as well. I mean, you look at, they went to Ireland without Bale last month, and they deserved to win that game. I mean, it was a great free kick. I think Harry Wilson got them the win. And you look at, I think Denmark went to Ireland without Eriksson. And struggled a bit more. So are you looking at the form line there? Wales are at home. I know they've lost the game away to Denmark, but at home they do seem to be up for this Nations League. They're playing at a good tempo. Like as I mentioned, they've got some better attacking players now as well as Bale. And I'd say if Bale plays, back Wales. If he doesn't play, back them at bigger odds, because I think they've got a decent chance.
Okay, right. Let's move on then to Saturday's 2 Nations League group games involving Italy, Portugal, Albania, Scotland. We'll start with Italy, Portugal. Emmett, have you got a view on that one, and some prices as well, please, from Paddy Power?
Yeah, the prices are Italy 11-10, draw 21-10, and Portugal are 5-2. Obviously, the big news here will be Cristiano Ronaldo missing for Portugal. I think he's taking a break till potentially after Christmas. I think Portugal are still a pretty formidable side even without him. Bernardo Silva has become a world-class player. Obviously, Ruben Neves is very promising. I saw William Carvalho at the weekend for Betis, and he was absolutely superb. And I feel like even Italy are on the up. I think like Jorginho and Verratti gives them kind of a different dimension in midfield than they've had in the past. But the angle I'd look here is Portugal only need a draw, and Italy struggle for goals. So I think 0-0 as a half-time score at 7-5 is worth doing. Generally under the manager Fernando Santos, Portugal play fairly defensively in situations like this, and I'd expect the match to go that way again.
Okay, blank first half for Emmett there. Do you agree with that, Mark?
Yeah, I do. I think the half-time draw and even maybe the 90-minute draw as well. I can just see Portugal playing pragmatic and conservative as they go looking for the point that qualifies them for the finals. And Italy, while they're improving, I don't see where their main goal threat's coming from. Sounds like Immobile may play up front. I just don't think he's up to the standard. He scores a lot of goals in Serie A, but he's had a couple of cracks at Dortmund and Sevilla. Hasn't worked out for him. National team never really looked like that kind of player that they need. And Portugal, difficult team to break down. So I wouldn't be surprised if Portugal got the point they needed.
Okay, that's 2 votes for a snore fest. Dan, do you agree with
Yeah,
that?
I think it'd probably be that way. I would go a little bit further and go Portugal or draw, double chance at odds on. This Italian team, as Mark's mentioned, I don't see a great deal of a goal threat. I mean, Chiellini's the top scorer in the squad with 8 goals. I mean, that's a real worry. And Portugal, I mean, they've been without Ronaldo for this whole campaign and they've still got into a dominant position in the group. Andre Silva, as has been mentioned, picked up a couple of goals. He's playing well. Bernardo Silva's really come into the fore as well, taking on extra responsibility since in these games that Ronaldo's missed. So I do think they're a better team than Italy, and I think Italy are to be taken on at those prices.
Okay, fair enough. Right, and the other game as mentioned on Saturday is Albania hosting Scotland, Emmett, and got some prices for that one for us, please?
Sure. Albania 11-5, draw 15-8, and Scotland 5-4.
Can the Scots do it? 5-4?
I wouldn't claim to have great knowledge of Albanian football, but I don't think Scotland are in a great place at the moment. Just there have been a couple of kind of pullouts in the squad. And I kind of thought Gordon Strachan was quite unlucky to be sacked. But they played some fairly progressive football under him. And obviously, I don't think Alex McLeish was the most inspiring appointment. So I wouldn't trust them at this kind of price away from home. So I'd probably go maybe Albania draw no bet at 5-4, but I'm not a confident selection.
Mark, you're obviously renowned as being one of the leading experts on Albanian football. How do you see this one going?
Well, they were sort of, I don't know, you'd say a year, 18 months ago, looked like they were on the up. And then things have gone quite sour for them. 1 win in 7. Probably their most famous player, her side, the right back who plays for Napoli. You know, it's been one of the best right backs around for a long time now, really, in terms of European football. I'm just wary of backing Scotland at sort of 5-4 away from home, given how bad they were away to Israel.
Does sound like a formula to disaster.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously Albania are not in a great place, but I think that Scotland, things are not right there. When you get quite a few withdrawals, you always sort of assume the worst. I think now in terms of international football, the teams that are all together and everybody seems to be playing for the manager. They seem to have, whether it's coincidence or not, they seem to have fewer players pull out for injury. In Scotland, a little bit unlucky that 2 of their best defenders are both left backs with Robertson and Tierney. I saw McGinn pulled out, and so have they got enough creativity and attacking quality to win this game? Couldn't they have done with like a Snodgrass or somebody who's sort of reinvented himself at West Ham? I'm not sure. I'd go for the draw again here. Albania are obviously not winning very many matches, but nor is Scotland.
Dan, what do you think?
I think the draw here is that it would be the way to go. I mean, just both teams sort of scream lack of goals, didn't they? I looked at Albania, as has been mentioned, Hisaj from Napoli is their best player. It's a game where both teams' best players are full-backs, and Scotland have got their 2 best players by a mile are both playing the same position, and getting Tierney and Robertson into the side, it causes problems in itself. They've tried different formations. It's actually negated some of their threats further up the pitch. You've got Fraser, who wants to play as an out-and-out winger, and he's then having because they're playing in a 3 to try and get Tierney at left centre-back and Robertson at left wing-back or vice versa. It's negating the threat of Fraser, who's probably one of the best attacking players. So it's a lot of problems there. Defensively, you've got Mulgrew who's the best defender. He's injured. Stephen O'Donnell injured as well. So they've got issues at the back there. But Albania, how are they going to take advantage of it? They looked at their squad. Bekim Balaj is their top scorer with 4 goals. That's the highest score in the entire squad. So given that you're struggling to see where the goals are coming from, the draw stands out for me at 15-8.
Good stuff. 2 votes for the draw in the studio here. Right, do stay with us because we've got plenty more action to preview. And of course, the lads' best bets of the weekend.
Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and $1 grand up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.
Welcome along to this week's Racing Post Football Postcast. We're going to tackle Sunday's action, starting with, of course, England playing Croatia in that crunch game, Group A4 of the Nations League. Well, Emmett O'Keefe on the line from Paddy Power. And Emmett, how do you see this one going for England? And, of course, some prices from Paddy Power.
Yeah, the prices currently are England 5-6, draw 5-2, and Croatia 16-5. It's obviously quite dependent on how the result goes in the Spain-Croatia game, but at the current prices, I'd lean towards England. I think England even if they don't have that much to play for, I expect them to play a strong team, and under Southgate, I'd expect them to produce a performance. And like the lads say, Croatia don't have that much depth and haven't been that impressive so far in the Nations League.
Okay, obviously, Croatia played Spain already by the time this game happens, and a lot can sort of hang on that. But how do you see England and Croatia faring?
I mean, it's just worth pointing out, obviously, Croatia need to beat Spain and England to win the group. England need Croatia to pick up something against Spain, and then that they could top it if they win. I agree. I think England can win the game no matter what. I mean, if you think about it, Croatia are either way are going to have had a tough game on Thursday against Spain, whereas England have put the reserves out against US and then can sort of go full tilt for this game, and then might. If Croatia do win, obviously then that's going to perk up them, and I think you'll probably get England then a slightly maybe bigger price because everything will be on the line. But I think England, that extra rest could be key in a game that is difficult to preview so early on.
Okay, fresh England for Mark. What about yourself, Dan?
Yeah, 3 votes for England. I agree. I think the build-up is everything here. I mentioned about there's a big difference between England's first string and their second string, where the best players are going to be, safe for this game. Croatia they've got no option. They've got to go full tilt for both games. Got to put everything into the Spain game. If they don't win it, they're going to be out of contention and feeling down. If they do win it, they're still going to be a bit fatigued. So and they're still going to have to go try and push to win the game against England, which could leave opportunities for England on the counter attack. So England at a shade of odds on for me.
Good stuff. Full house for the 3 Lions. Also on Sunday, Northern Ireland versus Austria. Give us a quick show there, Emmett, please.
Northern Ireland are 12-5, draw 23-10, and Austria 10-11.
Any bets here, Mark?
I'd probably go for Austria, but with no great confidence.
What about yourself, Dan?
I'll go with the draw. As Emmett mentioned earlier, Northern Ireland are better at home, battered Bosnia and lost 2-0, so I think they'll make life tough for them. A draw for me.
Okay, also on Sunday, this one could be a decent game. Switzerland at home to Belgium, Emmett.
Switzerland 12-5, draw 23-10, and Belgium evens.
Even money, the Belgians?
I'd go over 2.5 goals here, or maybe both teams to score. Switzerland are going to have to go and chase the game because they 2-goal victory is what they need to definitely qualify for the finals against Belgium, with Belgium assuming they beat Iceland. And I think that Belgium will beat Iceland. Belgium have got great quality going forward, just missing 1 or 2 key players like Vertonghen and De Bruyne. So you couldn't be. I'm not absolutely convinced that they'll do the business, but I think it could be an entertaining game.
Dan?
Yeah, I think Belgium have got the better individual players, but Switzerland often get underestimated, especially at home. Their home record, not lost a competitive home game since losing 2-0 to England in September 2014. So that's a record to be respected. Belgium, as Mark's mentioned, are without a couple of key players, De Bruyne and Vertonghen. So I think Switzerland will fall just short, but they could draw the game. 23-10 the draw for me.
Excellent stuff. On Monday, we have Germany versus Netherlands and Denmark versus Ireland. Obviously, 3 of those 4 are in action. Mark, anything catch your eye there?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think Germany here, I mean, this is a massive, massive game for Jogi Löw. And I think we'll learn a lot about whether the squad's still behind him or not. I tend to think that this is a game they can win because, they'll want to get revenge for what happened to Holland. They're not also going to want to be relegated as well. I mean, some teams maybe do want to play to be relegated. I don't think Germany are one of those. There would be some humiliation to a team like them to be relegated. In terms of Denmark, Ireland, I just think Denmark are way too good for Ireland.
Germany, good thing, Dan?
Yeah, I think Germany here, I think that they have played with better football with more intensity than the results have suggested. I've seen a few of their games. I mean, the Holland game, they won quite heavily on the shot count, were 1-0 down until late on and shipped 2 late goals. The France home game, they were actually the better team, drew the game 0-0. So I don't think they've been as bad as the results suggest. Holland as well is worth mentioning, obviously playing the France first and then going into this game, that's a tougher build-up for them as well. So no, I think Germany will win this.
What price of Germany, Emmett?
8-13, draw 13-5, and Holland 4-1.
And finally, on Tuesday, we've got Scotland hosting Israel. Mark, what do we think?
I think Israel, given the runaround they gave Scotland in the first game, could win this one. I'm not expecting a huge turnout in terms of attendance, so home advantage may not be worth much. Israel to win.
What about yourself, Dan?
Yeah, I'd edge towards Israel. I mean, we mentioned Scotland and Albania and the lack of a goal threat from Albania. Israel do have a bit of a goal threat. You've got De Boer up front who gives them a cutting edge. I think they've got a good chance of winning this one.
Excellent stuff. Now then, the best bets of the weekend.
This will not be beaten.
We'll start with you, Mark. Are we domestic or international?
I'm going international, going for Bulgaria to win away to Cyprus. Bulgaria still got a chance of topping the section, and they've done quite well. They've picked up some big wins, including beating Norway, and even in the World Cup campaign previous to that, they beat Holland and Sweden. Had a look at the Cypriot squad. 20 of their players are now based domestically. There was a time when they were starting to get a few into sort of bigger European leagues. For whatever reason, that's not happening now. Experienced players like Dimitriou, not in the squad, due to, I think it's the suspension. But so I'm going to go for Bulgaria to win away in Cyprus.
Good stuff. Domestic or international? Dan?
Domestic for me, I'll go for the League Two leaders, Lincoln, to win away to Yeovil, a shade of odds on. Lincoln been very, very strong all season. I just think this is a game that they'll expect to get the 3 points. Yeovil, one win in 9 league games after their bright start. They also lost 3-1 at home to Stockport of the National League North in the FA Cup first round. So they're on a poor run, Yeovil. Lincoln for me.
Good stuff. Right, that's a vote for Lincoln, a vote for Bulgaria. Complete our treble, please, Emmett.
I was actually going to go for Lincoln as well, but given
strong double then.
We can have a strong double. We can have a strong double.
Yeah. Fair enough. If people are insistent on a treble, I'd go for Peterborough probably at 4 to 6 to beat Bradford.
Excellent stuff. Right, thank you, gentlemen, for your time. You know the drill by now. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. And until next time, thank you and goodbye.
Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and a grand up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.